In the heart of the Arabian desert, long before the rise of Islam, stood a simple, cube-shaped structure, the Kaaba. It was more than just a building. It was the spiritual center of Mecca, a sanctuary where tribes from all across the peninsula gathered. They came to worship, to trade, to settle disputes, and to share stories. The Kaaba was a symbol of peace and unity, respected by everyone. A sacred house protected not by walls or armies, but by a deep-seated faith that resonated throughout the land. It was the beating heart of Arabia. But hundreds of miles away, in the prosperous kingdom of Yemen, a powerful ruler named Abrohah watched with envy. He had constructed his own magnificent cathedral, a breathtaking structure of gold and marble, hoping to divert the flow of pilgrims and commerce to his own capital. Abrohah understood that controlling people's faith was the ultimate source of power. Yet, despite the grandeur of his church, the hearts of the people remained loyal to Mecca. The ancient pull of the Kaaba was too strong. This constant defiance fueled a fire of rage within him. Abrohah's patience ran out, and he made a terrifying decision. If the people would not come to his church, he would destroy theirs. He would march to Mecca and tear down the Kaaba, stone by stone. To achieve this, Abrohah assembled a fearsome army, the likes of which Arabia had never seen. He gathered thousands of soldiers, horses, and camels. But his ultimate weapon was a force entirely new to the desert battlefield: war elephants. Leading the charge was a colossal elephant named Mahmud, so large it cast a shadow over the entire army. The sight was so extraordinary that the year itself would be named after this event, the Year of the Elephant. As Abrohah's massive force began its march, a wave of fear swept across the land. The ground trembled with the weight of the elephants. Tribes who dared to stand in their way were quickly crushed. The desert, once a place of quiet solitude, now echoed with the sounds of an unstoppable invasion. Abrohah was filled with arrogance, certain that no earthly power could possibly stand against him. Victory, he believed, was not just likely, it was destined. As the formidable army reached the outskirts of Mecca, Abrohah's forces captured a herd of camels belonging to Abdul-Muttalib, the respected leader of the Quraysh tribe and the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The people of Mecca were terrified, but Abdul-Muttalib remained calm. Instead of pleading for his city or preparing for a hopeless battle, he rode out to meet the powerful ruler. Abrohah, expecting a desperate plea for mercy, was stunned when Abdul-Muttalib spoke. He didn't ask for the Kaaba to be spared. He simply said, "I have come to ask for my camels back." Abrohah laughed in disbelief. "You're worried about your camels. I have come to destroy your house of worship, the foundation of your honor, and you only ask for your animals." Abdul-Muttalib's reply was filled with a profound and unshakable faith. He looked at the tyrant and said calmly, "I am the owner of the camels, so I have come for them. As for the house, it has its own lord who will protect it." These words, spoken with such quiet confidence, seemed to hang in the air, a declaration of faith more powerful than any army. Abrohah, though momentarily taken aback, dismissed the old man's words and returned his camels, convinced that this holy house was now defenseless. Abdul-Muttalib returned to his people, not to arm them for war, but to lead them to the surrounding mountains. They left the city empty, turning their faces towards the Kaaba and raising their hands in prayer. They had no army, no weapons, only their complete trust in God. The next morning, Abrohah gave the order to advance. He commanded his soldiers to prepare the great elephant, Mahmud, to lead the final charge and demolish the Kaaba. But then, something truly miraculous happened. The giant elephant, which had marched hundreds of miles without issue, suddenly stopped. It knelt down and refused to take a single step towards Mecca. The soldiers pushed, they pulled, they even struck the animal, but it would not budge. Confused, they turned the elephant to face away from Mecca, and it immediately stood up and started walking. But as soon as they pointed it back towards the Kaaba, it knelt again, resolute. The mightiest weapon in Abrohah's arsenal was rendered useless, not by force, but by an unseen power. Just as the army stood in disarray, the sky began to darken. It wasn't a storm cloud, but something else entirely. A massive flock of birds, appearing like a dark wave on the horizon, swarmed towards them. The Quran calls them a Babel. These weren't ordinary birds. Each one carried 3 tiny stones of baked clay, one in its beak and one in each claw. They flew directly over Abrohah's bewildered army and began to drop their small, yet divinely guided, projectiles. What happened next was devastating. Each stone, no bigger than a pea, struck with supernatural force. Soldiers cried out as they were hit, falling to the ground. The mighty elephants panicked, trampling their own men in a desperate attempt to flee. The scene descended into chaos. The proud, invincible army was completely annihilated, turned into what the Quran describes as like an eaten-up field of corn. Abrohah himself was struck, wounded and humiliated. He watched his grand ambitions crumble into dust. He was forced to retreat, his body decaying as he fled, a shadow of the powerful king he once was. He barely made it back to Yemen, where he died in utter misery, a stark warning to all who would challenge the will of God. The Kaaba remained standing, untouched and unharmed. The Year of the Elephant became a legendary moment in history, a testament to divine intervention. It was in this very same year that a child was born in Mecca, a child who would grow up to be the final prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. This incredible story is more than just a historical account. It's a timeless lesson. It teaches us about the dangers of arrogance and the true meaning of power. Abrohah had an army, wealth, and elephants, but Abdul-Muttalib had something far greater, unwavering faith. The story shows us that human strength and worldly power are insignificant when faced with the protection of the divine. The Kaaba stands today, a symbol of that very truth, welcoming millions of pilgrims, just as it did centuries ago. It is a powerful reminder that what God protects, no force on earth can ever destroy. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the powerful lessons from our shared history. See you in the next video.